Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and today we got the second trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home. Just as Tom Holland says at the beginning of the trailer though, there will be spoilers in this video for Avengers Endgame, so if you have not seen Endgame, please click off now. For this breakdown, we'll be focusing on a few things. We'll be talking about various storylines in the comic books that this movie seems to be taking inspiration from, different other storylines in the comic books, and even worlds in the comic books, and how directly Avengers Endgame has affected Spider-Man Far From Home and its plot. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the breakdown. The opening moments of the trailer addresses a major criticism and concern that many people had for the first trailer of Far From Home. That being, if Endgame was supposed to be this monumentous event with the death of a major character, why is Peter Parker and other characters so happy? In this trailer though, this is the first thing that the movie addresses, as it even shows us that Peter Parker is still using the Iron Spider uniform. Around New York, at various glimpses throughout the trailer, you also get memorials built for Tony Stark's Iron Man. As the major topic for this video is Iron Man and his major role, and who will be the next to step up to replace him. With my major theory and lesson for this movie being is that Peter Parker will learn by the end of it that the world doesn't need another Iron Man, it needs Spider-Man. Still though, the major theme throughout the trailer is who will replace Tony Stark's role now that he's gone and Earth's greatest defender was finally laid to rest. Another character will also seemingly rise in Far From Home to take the place of Iron Man, that being the villainous Mysterio, who doesn't seem all that villainous in this trailer, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The opening of the trailer shows off some of the brand new abilities of the Iron Spider-Man suit, as we see that it appears as if Peter Parker has planted web grenades and it catches various thugs. At the end again with the officers, it's also addressed if Peter Parker, or Spider-Man rather, will be taking over the role of the next Iron Man. Still though, it's evident to me that the role of Iron Man is not one that needs to be filled, but again, Spider-Man should rise to take up the mantle, but not the mantle of Tony Stark, the mantle of Peter Parker, a good man. We then get a lot of interactions between Peter Parker and Happy Hogan, who's being a surrogate mentor to Peter Parker after Tony Stark's passing, as well as at the end of Endgame, we saw that Happy Hogan would always be around to take care of Morgan Stark. It appears as if Happy, quite appropriately I may add, is sort of picking up the pieces that Tony Stark left behind, and doing his best to keep those around him afloat after the death of Earth's greatest defender. It should also be noted that this is the last appearance that we see of the Iron Spider armor in the Far From Home trailer. It's quite possible that Peter Parker simply chooses to leave the Iron Spider suit behind as he goes off on his vacation. However, the more likely possibility, as we also see the normal Spider-Man suit swinging through New York, is that the suit simply shuts down, as of course Tony Stark is not around to maintain maintenance on the suit, or perhaps it simply runs out of reactor fuel. There are several possibilities, but what we do know is this may be the last appearance of the Iron Spider suit in this movie, and without Tony Stark around to take care of it, it could take a pretty big hit, as we really don't know the details of maintaining an Iron Man suit up until this point in time, which is really interesting. Talking about the moment where Peter Parker swings past the old Avengers Tower, I want to address something that I brought up in the previous Far From Home trailer breakdown. In Spider-Man Homecoming, it was said that Avengers Tower had been sold, and I firmly believe that it was sold to Norman Osborn, who I don't think will directly show up in this movie, but I do think he will play a major role in the MCU moving forward, and could be slightly introduced in this movie with the appearance of Oscorp. I also believe that at a future movie, it could in fact be Norman Osborn who takes up the mantle of Tony Stark, and tries to replace Tony Stark as Iron Man moving forward, and as in the comic books, he took up the mantle of Iron Patriot. However, this is just pure speculation on my part. I just hope that Norman Osborn is behind the purchase of Avengers headquarters and Avengers Tower. The next scene we get in the trailer is again with Spider-Man and Happy Hogan. It's also important to note here that unlike the first trailer, Spider-Man is wearing his Iron Spider costume, meaning in the first trailer when we saw he was wearing his normal Spider-Man outfit, this may have been altered for the first trailer, and when he accepts the check on behalf of Pepper Potts, it appears as if he may be wearing his Iron Spider costume, which would have been a spoiler for Far From Home before Endgame was ever released. Here we see that Nick Fury has been trying to contact Spider-Man for some time, as it's evidently clear that Happy Hogan as well as Peter are quite intimidated by Nick Fury. Still though, Peter is adamant that he's going on vacation and he needs a break after the events of the snap. We even learn through information that Peter Parker decides to leave his Spider-Man costume behind, but that Aunt May, in a really cute scene, decides to sneak it in his suitcase anyway. We then get some footage of Ned that we saw in the first trailer, as Nick Fury finally tracks down Peter Parker. trailer. I briefly want to touch on something that we learned after the events of Avengers Endgame. In Endgame, as I'm sure you guys all remember, the people that were brought back from the snap are brought back to a point in time 5 years later. That means those that were not snapped by Thanos are now 5 years older. This confirms that Ned, MJ, Flash, and all of the other classmates of Peter Parker were in fact killed in the Thanos snap. Therefore, why they're not older here. And although the 5-year gap is not addressed in this trailer, I do think it will be addressed in this movie. And perhaps some of the classmates that we saw in Spider-Man Homecoming are now in their 20s and in college. But again, a lot of the main cast that have not aged since Spider-Man Homecoming all died in the Thanos snap. Therefore, of course, why they haven't aged at all. But now we have the absolutely biggest moment in the whole trailer, and it doesn't even have to do with any action sequence. It's Nick Fury introducing Spider-Man to Quentin Beck, or better known as Mysterio, as Nick Fury explains that Quentin Beck is from another Earth, just not this Earth, therefore introducing the multiverse into the MCU. They explain in this trailer that the multiverse somehow occurred when one of the snaps did, and therefore Quentin Beck may have been transferred to this Earth. In the comics, there are a ton of different alternate realities in the Marvel Universe, with the main one being Earth 616. However, there are different versions of various characters, different versions of Iron Man, different versions of Wolverine, and different versions of Spider-Man especially. It's implied that on his alternate Earth, Mysterio was a hero on the level of the Avengers, and that what is being portrayed as the main villains of this movie in the Elementals are a result of these realities coming together. And Mysterio has ventured to this Earth to hunt down these Elementals, as he feels a sort of responsibility for them as they may be from his reality, or so he claims, but we'll touch on this at the end of the trailer. To break it down though, there are a few theories concerning Mysterio as he appears in Spider-Man Far From Home. The most likely of course being that Quentin Beck is a complete liar, and he is responsible for the Elementals, which may in fact just be his illusions, and Mysterio is revealed as the main villain of the movie. But another theory poses that he's actually telling the truth, and he is from an alternate reality, just that the Quentin Beck on Spider-Man's Earth and the main Mysterio is actually a villain, as this Mysterio is true to his word and is a hero. So perhaps if Mysterio ventured back to his own reality at a later date, the villainous Mysterio would emerge. But again, if I had to put my money on it, I would say that Mysterio is a complete liar and is responsible for the Elementals. But the other theory is an interesting twist on the character, something that Marvel is not completely unfamiliar with. Also, the implications of a multiverse are really famous stories of the Spider-Man comic books, as different versions of Spider-Man come together. We actually got to see this recently in Sony's Spider-Verse, but they could be setting it up way down the line to actually have a live-action Spider-Verse-esque movie, which would be really cool. In the scene, Peter Parker then questions Nick Fury why he didn't reach out to more powerful or experienced Avengers, to which it's made evidently clear that a lot of the Avengers are either dead, retired, or have gone off-world. Thor, which has gone off-world, Captain Marvel, which has also likely gone off-world, Steve Rogers, who we discovered is now officially retired from the role of Captain America and is really old, and Tony Stark, who gave his life at the end of Endgame. Spider-Man is really all Nick Fury has to rely on here. Following this, we get some brand new shots of the Elementals, which have confirmed to be various famous Spider-Man villains. The Elementals being Molten Man, Hydro Man, Sandman, and now a mysterious other Elemental. We also get a brand new look at Spider-Man's own stealth suit, which will be a brand new suit provided for him by Nick Fury. And finally, we get a snippet at a smaller moment between Peter Parker and Mysterio in a bar. It's been explained that behind the scenes, Mysterio begins to fill the role for Tony Stark's Iron Man, and becomes a sort of mentor, but that he's willing to lead Peter Parker down a darker path than Tony ever was. However, Peter Parker is looking for that mentor figure, and he believes that he finds that mentor in Mysterio. But again, this is a very dangerous game if Mysterio actually turns out to be the main villain, as many have speculated. Next up, as Peter Parker is trying to tell MJ that he really does like her, MJ finally reveals that she knows his secret, and that it wasn't that hard to figure out in the first place, that Peter Parker is in fact the Spider-Man. We then get a lot of brand new action shots of the Elementals attacking Peter Parker's friends, as well as an awesome brand new fishbowl reveal of Mysterio. And finally, the scene in the trailer that most people have been talking about, Spider-Man using some Stark tech. It's possible with this scene in Peter Parker and Happy Hogan takes place in the Stark jet, which we also see get blown up later on in the trailer. At the end of the trailer though, we get a good look at the brand new elemental or their fourth mysterious elemental that has not been named yet. However, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is what happens when all three of the other elementals combine, as it appears to be far larger than any of the others and also appears to be a combination of all of them. Hydro-Man, Sandman, and Molten Man all created one giant villain. Another great shot in the trailer that I forgot to mention is that Peter Parker is actually wearing the same glasses that Tony Stark wears in Infinity War, as he appears to be on a bus. But anyway, my friends, that is my breakdown of the brand new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, and leave in the comments down below if I missed anything significant. But what are your guys' thoughts on this trailer, and what do you think the implications will be from Far From Home after the events of Avengers Endgame? But the big question is, what do you think Mysterio's role will be in Far From Home? Is he truly a hero with his alternate self existing in the normal MCU as a villain, or is he a liar and is actually the main villain of Far From Home? Again, guys, don't forget to enter the Infinity War Hot Toys figure giveaway. You will be able to select an Infinity War Hot Toys figure of your choosing. So to enter this giveaway, all you have to do is like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and tell me in the comments below which Infinity Stone you believe is the most powerful. Anyway, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.